justice for all of them.
Sister, I think what you're asking for is revenge.
You just take care of the justice, and I'll handle the revenge myself.
She was the queen of action movies, an icon of fearless power. But behind the scenes, Pam Grier was fighting battles the world never saw. At 6, she was brutally attacked. At 18, it happened again. And when she reached Hollywood, producers tried to buy her body for movie roles. She fought them all off, building a legend of untouchable strength.
4 attacks, two as a little girl, one as a teenager, and one as a younger woman. Wait, these were the attacks.
But in 1988, she faced an enemy she couldn't fight with her fists. A devastating illness growing inside her. Doctors gave her months to live. That battle would unearth one final shocking secret, a truth so devastating, it would change everything. A painful childhood and Hollywood beginnings. Pam Grier was born on May 26, 1949, in North Carolina, the daughter of a nurse and an Air Force mechanic. Because of her father's job, her childhood was a restless blur of moving from one town to the next, making her feel like she never had a real home. This constant upheaval forged a resilience in her that she would need for the brutal battles to come. That resilience became her armor, and by the early 70s, she had transformed it into an on-screen weapon that would make her a legend. In 1974, audiences watched in shock as her character, Foxy Brown, delivered a brutal form of justice in a glass jar. The scene, in which she orders the castration of the man who killed her boyfriend and has the remains delivered to his girlfriend, was something Grier choreographed herself. She wanted it to feel real. Just a year earlier in Coffee, she had stunned audiences by hiding razor blades in her afro and using them in a fight scene, a moment she came up with herself. These scenes cemented her as a fearless action hero, but they were more than just acting. She was channeling the pain of a survivor. That pain began when she was just 6 years old. While visiting her aunt's house, she was cornered in a laundry room and attacked by several older boys, including her own cousin. During the assault, a phone repairman walked in, scared the boys away, and then quietly went back to fixing the phone as if nothing had happened. That moment of adult indifference haunted her. She said it turned her from a happy little girl into someone afraid of the world. She began to stutter and told no one for years, crippled by a shame that wasn't hers to carry. At 18, it happened again when she was date raped. The pain she had buried for over a decade came flooding back. This trauma became the psychological root of her entire persona. As a mixed-race child, Black, Hispanic, Filipino, Chinese, and Cheyenne, she was bullied relentlessly in school. Kids called her names and even hit her. So she took self-defense and martial arts classes, not just to fight back, but to feel strong again. Those skills later became part of who she was on screen. Her entire life was a fight. After living in England, where she said kids were raised to hate Germans, not us, returning to the racism of 1960s, America was a shock. In Denver, buses wouldn't stop for her family, restaurants turned them away. She was even told a swimming pool was for whites only. But she drew strength from her mother's family history of escaping slavery through the Underground Railroad. This history of survival gave her a strength she would need when she finally made it to Hollywood. In 1967, she entered the Miss Colorado Universe pageant, not for fame, but to help pay for college. She didn't win, but a pageant contact got her an agent. And soon she was working as a backup singer for music legends like Stevie Wonder and Sly Stone, and even watched Jimi Hendrix record. With only $200 in her pocket, she moved to Los Angeles. Life there was brutal. She lied her way into a job as a switchboard operator at a casting agency, worked over 40 different jobs just to survive, and sometimes ate only one meal a day. Her first acting job was as an uncredited extra in the 1970 cult film Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, for which she earned just $25. But she used the long days to watch and learn from the real actors, turning the set into her own personal acting school. Before her big break, she was only offered stereotypical roles like tribeswomen and exotic villains. Then, in 1970, producer Roger Corman saw her at a party, was struck by her height and strength, and offered her a real role. But the fight was far from over. That same year, a major Hollywood producer told her flat out, "Sleep with me or you don't get the part." When she refused, he tried to assault her, and she had to physically fight him off. She thought about quitting, but she stayed. That fire inside her only grew stronger. Fame, heartbreak, and a shocking diagnosis. By the early 1970s, Pam Grier was a force of nature. After being discovered by producer Roger Corman, she starred in a string of hit women in prison films. Her breakout role in 1971's The Big Dollhouse became a surprise hit, making $10 million on a tiny $125,000 budget. She did her own stunts, including a grueling mud wrestling scene that had to be filmed over 3 days in knee-deep water after a storm destroyed the set. She followed that with the brutal and controversial Women in Cages and the Big Bird Cage, where she used real guerrilla tactics taught by former fighters in the Philippines. She wasn't just acting tough, she was living it. Her apex as the queen of action films cemented her image as a powerful, fearless woman. But her real-life relationships were a source of constant pain and betrayal. In the early 70s, she dated basketball superstar Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who wanted her to convert to Islam, wear a hijab, and give up her career. She refused and they broke up. She later fell in love with comedian Freddie Prinze. He was a huge star, but deeply unstable. In 1977, he called her just before he took his life. She tried desperately to stop him, but he hung up. Hours later, he was dead. The guilt from that call never left her. Then came Richard Pryor. He was brilliant and charming, but his use was out of control. During a doctor's visit, Pam discovered something horrifying. There was residue inside her own body, which had come from him. She confronted him, but he didn't take it seriously, and she left him. Months later, she visited him on a movie set and found him freebasing. She begged him to stop, but he refused. Not long after, he famously set himself on fire in another freebasing accident. She wasn't surprised, she had seen it coming. Even a short fling with Wilt Chamberlain ended in exploitation. He later shared private details about their encounter in his book, where he claimed to have slept with 20,000 women. As the blaxploitation era faded, Hollywood didn't know what to do with its powerful black queen. In 1981, she took a dark role in Fort Apache, the Bronx, playing a drug-addicted prostitute who kills police officers. Her part was small, but critics called her creepy, and it began to typecast her as broken women instead of heroes. The pay disparity was staggering. Her co-star Paul Newman made $3 million plus 15% of the profits. 2 years later, she faced a devastating professional blow. She was cast as the Dust Witch in Disney's fantasy film, Something Wicked. This way comes, but after test audiences reacted poorly, Disney panicked, spending $4 million to reshoot the film and cutting Pam's scenes down or removing them entirely. The studio was reportedly nervous about showing a black woman in a major fantasy role. She found refuge on television, playing Detective Valerie Gordon on Miami Vice from 1985 to 1989, a role that kept her career alive during a difficult time. It was a life of public success and private agony. By 1988, she was 39 years old, fit, and active. She ran 6 miles every day, didn't eat meat, and stayed away from drugs and alcohol. She was planning her future, looking at homes, and thinking about marriage and children. But a single phone call changed everything. Her doctors told her she had stage 4 cervical cancer. Not stage 1 or 2, but the most advanced stage. They gave her only 16 to 18 months to live. They handed her a giant folder filled with medical papers and told her to start preparing her will. This was the true, secret crisis. She couldn't even begin treatment for 6 weeks, and had to sit with that news while the cancer continued to spread. What's more shocking is that she didn't stop working. She was in the middle of filming Above the Law with Steven Seagal when she got the diagnosis, but she kept showing up to set every day. She never told the crew. She wore wigs to hide her hair loss, and despite losing a lot of weight, she kept performing through the painful chemotherapy sessions. Drawing on the knowledge she'd gained from her mother, a nurse, she managed her own pain to avoid becoming dependent on opioids. But the emotional pain was even worse. The man she loved at the time didn't even show up for her first chemo session. Then he disappeared for 5 years, just vanished. She faced the fight of her life completely and utterly alone. This was the devastating reality hidden from the public, a brutal lesson that cancer teaches you who your real friends are. Tragedy, recovery, and a legendary comeback. While fighting a battle for her own life, Pam Grier was hit by a relentless wave of family tragedy that would have broken anyone else. In 1990, while she was still in the thick of her cancer battle, her beloved sister Krista died from breast cancer. Pam had always believed her sister's cancer was caused by toxic chemicals from her years working as a flight attendant. The pain didn't stop there. Krista's son, Freddie, couldn't handle the grief of losing his mother. He ended his life shortly after. Before he died, he had reached out to Pam, but he had made threats and she was scared, so she didn't meet with him. That decision haunted her. When she found out what had happened, she collapsed sobbing at a hotel as police surrounded the scene. All of this was happening while she herself was still fighting for her own life. On the brink of collapse, she found hope in the most unexpected place. A PBS documentary called Healing in the Mind with Bill Moyers. It showed a Chinese woman whose large tumor disappeared after weeks of acupuncture, herbs, and meditation. Pam took it as a sign. She made the bold decision to combine Eastern medicine with her chemotherapy. Her doctor sent her to a Chinese herbalist, who gave her special herbs and told her to drink hot tea with her meals. She added yoga and followed the new regimen with military discipline, believing that fresh air, clean water, and nature could help her heal. Slowly, her body started fighting back. One day, her doctors told her something no one expected. She was in remission. That was more than 35 years ago, and she's still here today. Years later, her incredible comeback in Quentin Tarantino's 1997 film, Jackie Brown, was a Hollywood event. The film, which Tarantino wrote specifically for her, was a massive success, making $74 million on a $12 million budget. Pam received a Golden Globe nomination for the role, but in a move many saw as unjust, she was snubbed by the Academy Awards. The snub was made more painful when people compared it to John Travolta, who got an Oscar nomination for his similar comeback role in Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Despite the Oscar oversight, her career was reborn. She starred in the Showtime series Lynx as the head of a children's rights group, played a detective in the dark teen comedy Jawbreaker, and shared scenes with Kate Winslet in the serious drama Holy Smoke. Her most emotional TV role came in 2004 on the groundbreaking series The L Word, where she played Kit Porter for 6 seasons. In one of her most powerful scenes, she turned down a marriage proposal, stating that the people she loved most, her sister's LGBTQ friends, couldn't even get married legally. It was during this triumphant career resurgence that the fake story about her being banned from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air began to circulate. The source is clear. It was all lies. She played her character named Janice Robertson, did her job, and there was no drama on set. The rumors were pure clickbait, spread in videos with titles like Pam Grier Banned. The truth was simple. She filmed her episodes and she left. The final, deepest truth was revealed by Pam herself in her 2010 memoir, Foxy: My Life in 3 Acts. She explained that years after surviving cancer, she began therapy and finally confronted the trauma she had carried since she was 6 years old. She had been living with PTSD for decades, and suddenly, it all made sense. Her tough characters on screen weren't just roles, they were survival. They were her armor. The fearless image people loved came from a place of real, unimaginable pain. It was never just acting, it was her truth. The secret she exposed wasn't a petty on-set fight. It was the story of a survivor who used her pain to become a legend. In the end, the rumors about a sitcom squabble fade into insignificance when compared to the reality of the battles Pam Grier actually fought and won. She transformed the unimaginable pain of her youth into an armor of strength on screen, then used that same strength to survive a death sentence from doctors and a period of intense personal loss. Her life has been a testament to resilience, a story far more powerful than any role she ever played. Pam Grier's true legacy isn't just as the Queen of Action, it's as one of the great survivors. She proved that the source of her power was real, raw, and born from a resilience that Hollywood could never script. The characters she played were tough, but the woman who portrayed them was infinitely tougher. She didn't just play a hero on screen, she became one in real life. How does knowing the truth of Pam Grier's off-screen battles change the way you see her iconic, powerful film roles? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more true stories behind Hollywood's toughest legends.